Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast, where we talk about all things personal growth, transformation, and stress optimization. I'm super excited because today we have a guest, and I had to ask her beforehand how to say her last name because I was like, I'm going to screw this up. So today we have Layne VanLieshout. Did I get it close?
So close. VanLieshout.
Yes. Okay. I overthought it. It's like, if you overthink it, you're not going to get it right. So, what's up, Layne? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I mean, the overthinking that could be applied to everything. The statement you just said, if you overthink it, sometimes it's the simple stuff. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. I was actually having that conversation about simplicity, and somebody reminded me that sometimes we have to like make things complex to be able to come back to the simplicity of it. And I was like, that's interesting. But I do feel like all the answers are usually simple, but complexity has sold in complexity sells. It's unfortunately a moneymaker. So we'll talk about that here soon when we talk about, we're going to talk about all things gut health. So a little bit about Layne. She is a certified functional practitioner dedicated to helping women achieve total body health by optimizing their gut and hormones. She has overcome her own health challenges, and through root cause healing, she founded LV Wellness Consulting to empower high-performing women to restore harmony within their body using a holistic approach. She is my kind of gal all the way around. And by combining detailed lab testing, she does customized wellness plans, high impact mentorship. Layne guides her clients towards lasting transformation through her comprehensive health programs and services. And I'm just so excited you're here to talk to us about gut health. But before we get into gut health, I want to talk a little bit. You, like me, started in the traditional medical world, right? And then what was kind of the turning point that made you step into the world of functional and root cause healing? Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. Well, I went into the traditional world with every intention of being there forever. I didn't know there was another option. And so I was very indoctrinated into this is how we do things, diagnose, treat, medicine. And I learned it and it was cool. I was fascinated by the science and always worked in the hospital setting, loved it, loved that pace. But then, and again, I saw myself in that role forever. I never ever considered anything differently, but it was probably around 2018, between 2016 and 2018, I was ironically, in nurse practitioner school, which makes a lot of sense looking back. Things started to shift with my health and I was having this panic come up. I'd never had panic attacks before, but just this heightened sense of stress. Everybody has stress. I probably always had some pockets of anxiety, but it started impacting my daily life all day. Couldn't sleep. I was on the fast track to burnout. And that is when I started dabbling in holistic health, but I was still very much in the trenches of traditional medicine. So 2018 comes along, start my job as an NP a couple months later. That year was the turning point for me because I felt like I was about to break down. I saw multiple physicians, multiple specialists, had a very expensive workup done just to be told everything was normal.
Common.
I know. I was having dizzy spells, near fainting at seemingly random times, stomach pains, heart palpitations, heart racing. It was always mystery symptoms. And thankfully everything was normal. But at the same time, I was like, well, something ain't normal though. Somebody needs to help me because I feel like I'm going crazy. And when I got told, you can just try this medication and maybe you should go to therapy, I was like, okay. I was like, number one, sign me up for therapy, but what else can we do? So
yeah,
that was the turning point for me, is when I felt like I had no other options and nobody was listening to me. And so I started, researching on the internet, holistic health, and then came across the concept of functional medicine and root causes. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what any of this means yet, but it's somehow already making sense. And so that started my journey into learning more about it. So then in 2021, I started my formal training in functional medicine to become certified. And then a few months later, opened my business. So it was kind of condensed in a couple years of health crashing, not getting answers, finding other answers, and then okay, pivot. This is where we're going to go. This is exactly what I'm meant to do.
It's so good. And like, I hate that that happened. And we know that oftentimes, like, this is what leads us to more of our purpose and more of our, and it's really common for anybody who's listening. I've been through it. And it was a big reason why I kind of went into holistic health myself was like, you just keep getting told everything looks fine. And you're like, I swear to God, if you say that to me one more time, I am going to lose my mind. Like, clearly something is not right. And I was actually having this conversation with my mom today. And I'm like, you have got to be your own advocate of your health. Like, if you do not expect and it's not because they don't want to help. It's just like, but you do not expect you're not a victim of the system. Like, you have got to go out and start searching for some of your own answers and be guided into whatever it is. So, yeah. So just thank you for sharing that story. And for anybody who's listening, if you've been told the same thing, there's answers out there. They just may not be where we're traditionally told to look for the answers. So, great. So tell me this, what were some of your biggest aha moments in your own healing journey that now you kind of use to support your own clients?
Oh, this is a good one. So during like the rough patch of where I really felt terrible, I was counting macros. Not that there's quote anything wrong with that, but it was not a good fit for me at the time because it was adding to my stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not understand the concept of blood sugar stability at the time. All I thought was like, if I'm eating whole foods that are clean, like that's all you need to worry about. I wasn't really caring or mindful. I had no clue that we needed to be worried like how much blood sugar fluctuations can impact your mood and energy and mental health, because so much of mine felt like a mental health thing that trickled into physical symptoms, and then that just spiraled. That made the mental worse and made me worry more, and then the worry worsened my gut health, and then it's all connected. So that was probably one of the biggest ones. And I also just realized I was not tending to my nervous system at all.
Mm-hmm.
So nutrition and nervous system were big for me.
Yeah, that is, and it's a really good, it's again, just really good points when it comes to, I always laugh because I think that at the end of the day, people don't know very much about nutrition. Like, the more and more that I talk to people, the less people truly understand. I also don't think that there's anything wrong with counting macros at some point. Like, it's kind of funny because most of the people who kind of are bashing counting macros at this point have done it. And which means that, like, there is actually a power in understanding what is in your food, what is it made up of, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Like, if you only focus on that and you don't focus on the blood sugar, like all of that, the regulation that comes with how do we piece meals together, how do we make all of that, we're only doing one, like, it's only one piece. And it's like, we don't want to, yeah, you can fill your macros with a bunch of shit, but that's not really the point, right? But I do think that there's power in understanding food and understanding where different, like, what is protein and what is a carbohydrate and what is a healthy fat. Like, those pieces are so important. So I love that you brought that up. And nervous system, you're speaking my language. So this is a really good segue, because one of the foundational pieces for optimizing stress is caring for our physical body. And the more and more that I'm in this work, the more, like, when I start to work with somebody, we go nervous system first, because, like, it is such a huge impact on what we're able to do and, like, creating that stable foundation to do all the other work. So how is stress and kind of our nervous system and our gut health connected? Can you help us bridge that gap a little?
Yeah, there's a few really big connections that I want to talk about. So just think of the gut and brain as like in constant communication with each other. And one of the ways that happens is through the vagus nerve. So it's the nerve that runs from our brain all the way through our chest cavity into our digestive system, and it goes to various different organs. But that is our gut and brain are always like sending these signals. One of the caveats with this is most of that communication is going from gut to brain, not the other way around. So when we think like my physical health has nothing to do with my mental health, or my gut health cannot possibly be impacting my brain, that's not true. Like, it absolutely is. And so when our vagus nerve is firing on like properly and the signals are being transmitted optimally, our brain can understand that if our body is safe and aligned and our gut health is okay, our inflammation levels are controlled. The brain senses that level of safety, which will then kind of help us feel that calm and safety in our body. So it's very bi-directional, but that vagus nerve is huge. And then the other part that I think is important and really helpful for people to understand is the gut microbiome. So y'all have heard that term, to be sure. I know it's a really trendy topic, but think of all of like the good bacteria and the other bugs that live within us, and they're there for our benefit. It's a synergistic relationship. There's a lot of functions for these gut bugs, but one of them is to produce neurotransmitters. Now, I think it's approximately 90% of serotonin is made in the gut, 50% of dopamine is made in the gut. And those, of course, have so much to do with our moods, how uplifted we feel, how focused we are. They don't cross to the brain, but they do influence the signaling of that vagus nerve that allows our brain to function. Not to mention, these bacteria help convert B vitamins. B vitamins are building blocks for energy. They're also building blocks for neurotransmitters. And so there's a lot of like nutrients intertwined with how the gut microbiome works as well, and how our brain can receive optimal nutrients from our diet is simply how it's getting digested and converted.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I want to mention too on something that I learned about the vagus nerve that touches I just think it kind of helps to solidify this, is that we have that connection from our brain down to our body, right? And there is this study out there, and it talks about how it's the same thing, it's just on like a different level, is that when we have something come in through our brain, right? So we are reading something, we're listening to a podcast, we're in a stage that everybody loves information, right? There's only like 20% of what comes in through the brain is going to go down into the body and kind of start to like it's going to shift what's going on in our like emotions and in our daily actions and all of that different things. However, just like Layne was saying, if we do something, we utilize our body to make changes, we take action in our body, then 80% of what we do starts to transform our brain and how it functions. Isn't that crazy? Like 4 times more effective to focus on the body than to and we've become so cerebral. Everybody's like so fixated on gathering information. And it's like, this is why like experiences and doing the thing is so powerful in making change and transformation.
I see that. I don't want to call it a problem, but I see that be a barrier or a challenge for people a lot on the healing journey, because we live in a world of information overload, and it's amazing that we want to learn, like keep learning, please, like keep digging, but the information is only as powerful as we are going to implement it and incorporate it into our life. And that doesn't mean you have to incorporate everything you learn, like have discernment, of course, but if you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but then you do nothing about it, it's really not making a change with your life experience and your health, especially, referring to health information specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, you and I both know there's so many things that I joke all the time that I feel like the only thing that research tells us is that not everything works for everyone. Like it's like literally like the only thing that we can definitely say is like some things work for some people, some things don't work for other people. And like, that's kind of, and we have to be like experiment with different things in our own life and learn to listen to our bodies to say, does this feel good? Does it? I actually started taking a supplement. So I'm going to want to talk to you about this at some point. I started taking a supplement like 3 weeks ago. And I always thought in my head, like, it's not going to hurt me, Well, it did. I became super anxious. I was like, what is happening? And I stopped taking the supplement, and it just like all the symptoms went away. I was like, okay, this is fascinating. But again, like sometimes you have to experiment and learn to listen to your body, which for me, like, I want to know how you help women learn how to trust their bodies again, because I feel like this is a huge issue we have, or a barrier, so to say, is that like we've kind of been taught that we can't trust our bodies, that our bodies are our worst enemy and not our biggest ally. So how do you work with people on that?
I have so much to say about that.
Yes.
But I think first is like honoring our bio individuality is like that supplement may have been so helpful for one person, but it wasn't a good fit for you. And that's okay because we're all unique and we're not cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own biology, and different things are going to act differently to us or feel like a better fit. And that is where like leaning into the intuition and just be like, these symptoms popped up. This is what I changed. Maybe this isn't a good fit. But as far as like, it's really common to think of symptoms as the enemy, and therefore your body as the enemy. And that I think is one of the hardest things, like when it comes to health in general, because we just want to cover up the symptom. And that is what the traditional model essentially does is, let's do symptom management. Let's not figure out why the symptom popped up in the first place. And that's where we've disconnected from like, what is our body trying to tell us? So I always like to teach people to think of symptoms as signals. That's literally your body's way of communicating to you. And it's the only way that it knows how to communicate to you is to show up as a headache, is to show up as a rash, as a stomach ache, as anxiety. There's something that is either missing or triggering the body into this response that is not a good fit. And so if we can kind of pause and have that perspective shift and say, like, what is my body trying to tell me in this moment? Not what is wrong with me in this moment.
Oh, I love that. I think just like I just wrote down, treat my symptoms as signals. I think that's just such a beautiful, it's this reminder that your body is always trying to do whatever it can to keep you safe. And so like when those things pop up, it's like, okay, well, what is this trying to tell me? Instead of being like, oh, my body sucks. But like literally from the moment, especially as women, if you look at the way that we're taught about our period, or we're taught about like anything where it's like there's all these awful things that are compounding. And it's just, I just see it so much that women really have lost pretty much all faith in their body and they're not able to trust it. And so I love that specific advice, like look at it. It's just a signal. It's just a signal. And I always tell people like things start energetically, then they move into like the mental and emotional. And then when we're not listening, they come through as these physical symptoms. So like we could catch them earlier if we could really tune into our body and look at it as if it's our greatest ally on the planet. Like it's just there to try to do it. Like when you really think about what our bodies are doing for us on a daily basis and how some of us are running on empty and yet your body is still moving forward, it is such a gift.
Yeah, y'all, when I was in anatomy and physiology in college, I cannot tell you how mind blown I was that we even exist.
So true.
Like all these behind the scenes cellular, millions of processes like that. We have no consciousness or that it's even happening. It's just doing its thing, and like how incredible. And so if we can just remind ourselves like how miraculous our bodies are, that they're not broken. Symptoms don't mean that we're broken. It's asking for help. And then if we can like tune into, okay, what's it asking for? And then it might take a little bit of experimentation to figure out exactly what's the right fit, what's the puzzle piece that fits here. But that is really, really powerful.
And then it's the cool thing about that too, is that when you learn to tune in, you guys, it's what worked for you at one point. You might need something slightly different at a different point in your life. And I think that that's when you only learn it through like, this is the information, and you don't learn it through the true embodiment of like, okay, what is this telling me? Am I willing to experiment, try this thing? Then at any point in your life, you're going to know how to navigate different things, understanding that what worked in your 20s might be slightly different than what you need in your 30s. I think about that though, in like your A&P, when you're talking about being an A&P, and I don't know if anybody watching, we've all watched those like nature shows where you watch like the flowers bloom and these things happen and you're like, wow, that is the shit that's happening in our body all the time.
Yes.
Like we really should just be in complete awe of these vessels.
my professor was like, I want each of y'all to go stand in front of the mirror naked later and just be like, I am a walking masterpiece. And I'm like, he's right there. Like, it's kind of silly and funny at the time because you're like, what, 20 years old, but it's like literally a walking masterpiece. And
Okay, if we could end the show right now, everybody who's listening, please go stand in front of the mirror every day. And this is your challenge. I am a walking masterpiece. Like, if you could truly learn to embody that, you would see yourself so differently. I think that's like a really great affirmation, to just get naked and be like, I am a walking masterpiece.
write it down.
Let's do this.
Speak it out loud every day.
Oh, all right. So tell me, so for somebody who's listening, who's maybe like a high performer, they tend to be high performers because, hey-o, but they're feeling off. Like, how would they know if their gut is involved? What signals might their body be telling them?
So sometimes it's obvious stuff. And so we're going to talk about the non-obvious things too, because I think that's what like is often like a light bulb moment for people. But obvious things are like bloating after meals, irregularity in the bathroom, nausea, heartburn, like all of those are obviously gut related. But it's also really common for women to think like their gut is totally fine because their gut feels fine, yet they have brain fog or fatigue or anxiety or sleep issues or rashes popping up, or they feel like their metabolism isn't where they want it to be, especially when they're doing all the right things. Mm-hmm. And then period symptoms are really big too. So PMS, pain, irregularity with that. And so much of that can stem back to the gut. So to give the broad answer, everything can likely be stemmed back to the gut to some extent. But I don't like making broad statements like that because it's so there's other components as well that can be contributing to that. It's always about the bigger picture. But I would say there's that huge gut brain connection. So think about your brain symptoms: energy, concentration, mood, sleep, headaches. Those can be gut related, but also think of like, how might your body be showing signs of gut inflammation in other parts of the body being inflamed, like joint pain, skin, acne, rashes, etc. And then just remember, like, whenever there's a hormone imbalance, hormones are not the root cause. There is something deeper contributing to these hormone fluctuations. And that's just another one of those things, like, what is my body trying to tell me? Oh, my hormones feel off. But like, why? So let's think deeper, like, what are the puzzle pieces here?
Okay, those are awesome things to kind of keep an eye out for. And I love that you even brought up PMS symptoms, because I just want to like stake a claim here, guys. Like, PMS is not normal. Like, it is not a natural thing. It should not, I mean, like, little things, but your period really, if we're healthy and we are like living and we're thinking about full body health, not just like how we look, or, we're not thinking about, I've had to make a huge shift because I learned how to manipulate my body at a very young age. I actually learned how to manipulate my body even more through nutrition coaching and different like fitness stuff. But when you learn to nourish your body, it's a completely different. And that was something that I had to learn. And like, your period and what's going on around your period is like your fifth vital sign. And so if it's awful and it hurts and it's painful, like, those things have been normalized, but they're not actually how things are supposed to be. Like, now I get a period and like, I barely know it's coming, except for it just happens to be lined up with the moon, and like, it comes and it's there and then it's gone. And like, things can feel that way, but we have to think about, like you said, our entire, like, our whole system and our whole being, but it's a good place to look.
Yeah. Well, everything's connected. Like, we often isolate body parts and systems as if like they're in their own world. And that's why there's so many problems in the traditional model, is because we have a specialist for everything. And they're very brilliant people. They're very good at what they do, but do they always communicate to each other? Usually not. And so that is like one of the caveats, and one of the things that I do differently, or like this approach is another reason why it's different, is like, we're looking at the whole person and how are these things communicating to each other or connected to each other. And then, mentioning the PMS stuff, it was ingrained in us that like periods suck.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't to say that moods and energy don't fluctuate throughout the month depending on where we are, but that's different. Like there
Yeah.
can be some mild fluctuations with how we feel overall without feeling like, oh, I'm just a different person on my period.
Yes. And I love that you brought that up because it is the one thing about women is that our hormones fluctuate it's the one thing that changes every single day in our body. It's one of those crazy things that's happening in the background, but it shouldn't be these drastic changes. So thank you for kind of bringing that up. And yeah, it is a problem with the specialist. I remember talking to a girl and a really good friend of mine, and she was like, well, I have this IUD and they told me that, it goes into my uterus and then it's not as, I don't remember exactly how she worded it, but it was essentially like, it's not as bad because like the hormones don't leave the uterus. And I was like, really? I was like, so is your uterus like a bomb shelter? Is that what the deal? Like it doesn't have anything to do with any other system. Like those hormones aren't going anywhere. I'm like, that's not how the body works. So thank you for bringing that up, Layne. All right. So tell me this. So there's a lot of noise when it comes to gut health, right? Like, I think that is like like you said, there's so much information. And I do think that at some points that can become overwhelming. And you're like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's untrue. And again, we're going to keep saying this. So much of this is individualized, but can you tell us about some of the common like myths or mistakes that you're seeing with that maybe are out there when it comes to trying to heal our gut?
Yes. One is, elimination, or I will say experimenting with different food eliminations without a strategy is not likely helpful. There is a strategy if we're worried about like food intolerances or healing IBS or healing leaky gut. That is a conversation that needs to be had, but the answer is usually not food intolerance testing, which surprises a lot of people. And the reason for that is when we have imbalances in the gut ecosystem, or we have breakdown of the gut lining. Y'all have heard of leaky gut, I'm sure, which is a very hot, trendy word. And we can talk about like what it actually means if you like. But when we have that leakiness happen, that's exposing our immune system to partially digested food. So we can be reacting to healthy food. And removing the food alone is not going to heal your gut. You have to repair the excessive leakiness of the gut and the reasons that it became leaky, which is multifaceted. And so it's not like a one single approach or one single thing that you can do that's going to transform. It might be part of it, but we always want to be thinking about that bigger picture. So that is one of them. The next is like everybody needs a probiotic, which is, in my opinion, false. Because probiotics have their time and place. Trust me, I will use them often when it makes sense in a gut protocol, but we want specific strains for specific microbiomes, and that's where testing comes in. Some strains cause more problems in people, and we can either mitigate or reduce that risk when we see testing, because we can see, do you have enough of that one? Okay, cool. We're not going to use that one. We're going to go with a different, blend. And the other thing too is most supplements, I would say maybe like 90%. I'm just throwing out that number. I don't have science to back this up.
We'll call that I call those Stacyisms.
Yeah.
We'll call it a Layneism. Like, all right, I love it.
So 90% of supplements are not meant to be long-term. And probiotics falls into that category, as well as many other gut healing supplements. And it's like if we're on a probiotic for 10 years, then like, have we healed the gut? No. Like there's still more work to be done. Obviously, there's exceptions to any rule, but I think that often we stack supplements, and like next thing we know, we're on 20 supplements.
Oh my gosh.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
We've all done it. We've all done it where you look at your counter and you're like, what has happened? Like, because, every next person is talking about why this is the supplement.
Yeah, that is one of my pet peeves. I actually just wrote a post about that recently. It's like, this one thing changed my life. And I'm like, lies. Lies.
You are full of it.
It might have been helpful, but let's be honest, what else? Like, what else helped with this entire picture? So don't get trapped in like the one supplement that cured everything, or the one greens powder, or the one colostrum, or anything like that. Like, those, again, might have their time and place, but does it make sense for you and your situation and your goals and what you're experiencing? And that is where that bio individuality comes in. And also, where obviously I would recommend working with an expert who can guide you in that, because the guesswork is exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I'm like, I am in like my coach slash oh my gosh, what is like zone of genius like era, where I'm just like I'm just like, everybody who can help me, like, because I am just over the guesswork. And I think that I love it because I also have done enough work on myself to be able to say, like, okay, that's not working, to have discernment, right? Just because somebody's an expert doesn't mean they're an expert in you, but they can at least help guide you. And then you get to decide what works, what isn't working, by tuning into your body, your mood, and all of that. So yeah. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I know that you use some functional lab testing. You use testing in your practice. And something that I am seeing more and more is that because there's so much information out there, we are basing a lot of things on emotions and on our brain, and like our mental, like our mind and our emotions are making a lot of decisions. And Andrew, actually, so my husband's an EOS implementer, and one of the funny quotes he says is, if there's data, let's use the data. If there isn't data, like if we're just going with opinions, let's go with mine, right? And it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, you hit 80% of the things that you were supposed to do this week. And there's all of these things because you've been tracking what's going on. Actually, all evidence points to the fact that you're making tons of progress, or whatever that looks like. So tell me a little bit more about utilizing, like, how you utilize testing, why you do it that way. And like the fact that we don't have to necessarily, just like the biggest advantages of using data when it comes to gut healing and life in general, I guess.
Well, a lot of women that I work with who are also high performers, we tend to be data driven. And so sometimes that is helpful for someone, because especially if we're asking them to implement a change that they're like a little resistant to, and they don't understand like how it applies to them, sometimes that data can be the needle mover and be like, okay, now, it's not just your opinion. I see on paper that this is contributing or connected to XYZ, and they're much more willing to take it seriously and be like, okay, got it. Say less, like say no more. You had me at the data. So
Yes.
that's really powerful. But also, it helps remove a lot of that guesswork that I was kind of mentioning with the like supplement trial and error, because we can actually see where the imbalances are, and then we can craft a protocol that's going to specifically target those different areas, because not everybody, no protocol should be the same. And so with all of my gut health clients, not a single person has ever been on the same protocol, because why would they? Doesn't make sense. And so that is where like tailoring everything to you, and that is going to help reduce so much of that trial and error supplements and like other lifestyle or nutrition tweaks. And that's not to say that it removes all guesswork, because there's always exceptions, and not everybody reacts the same. Even if on testing this should be beneficial to them, but like there might be something else in the body that's not the best fit for it. And so that's where we can course correct as needed. But I think that when we have the testing, it can really streamline everything and condense the timeline, because we're more targeted in our approach.
Yeah, no, I think that's so good. And I also think that it's always the reminder too, that it's a process, not an event. It's still going to take some time. You're still going to have to keep showing up. There's still going to be things that you still have to listen to your own body and recognize that it's, sometimes things don't even pop up until a little bit down the road. And you're like, oh, well, that's a big issue. So we're going to have to like take a step, what seemingly back, to be able to slingshot forward. And I think that is, we all want things and we want things fast. And like, I think it's getting worse, you know? And, but the truth is that you guys, it did not take 3 days to get here.
Yeah.
Right. It has probably been decades of neglect in some way, shape, or form, whether, and like, so much, I'm not saying that anybody means to do it, but it's like a lack of information, neglect to our bodies, neglect to our souls, neglect to a lot of things have built up to get to this point. And it is going to take time to unwind and that whole thing and get you back to a place where you feel really good again.
I think that is a topic that we need to talk more about, because I think we need to normalize like the healing journey. I'm putting in quotation marks because it never really ends. But like, obviously there can be chunks of time that we're doing a lot of healing and then we kind of coast and then we do some more, and we're always evolving and learning and improving. But like you said, it's not an event. So can we normalize it not being a quick turnaround? This isn't to say that you can't see quick progress with the right approach. You absolutely can. I have clients within a couple of weeks already seeing like significant improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So it is possible, but that doesn't happen for everyone. Some people need a couple of months, some people need a few more months, and some people need a couple of years. It really depends on the layers of the situation. If you think of your health like an onion, like we have to peel these layers. And just like you said, sometimes these layers have been building for years to decades, and it is not going to get fully resolved in most cases in just a condensed period of time. But that's not to say we can't make a lot of progress. Just know that the journey is going to evolve, and we're just going to have to adapt at like the pace at which we want to go with things. And no, sometimes we're going to go really, really hard and strategic, and other times we're going to like let it soak in and kind of maintain and get to like a period where we can maybe not go as hard, but that doesn't mean the work is done.
And I do think, I've been coming back to this because I've been reflecting a lot on like my journey and how long it has actually taken. Like any time that we want to transform, I did a post on this not that long ago. It has taken me multiple years to kind of like come full circle with something. And I'm pretty dedicated too. And that doesn't mean like who I became in those 2 years, which is what you're talking about, like through the fact that we can see progress really quickly if we're looking for it. Like I became a completely different person. It wasn't just about the healing of my hormones. Like I had to flip my life upside down and pretty much like start treating myself significantly different. I had to look at life different. So you're gaining all of these, I call them silent wins. There's like these things that you never thought we're going to change that. And especially when women start to do, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because when women start to take care of their health and they really, it's like their confidence improves and they start holding boundaries better. They tolerate less when it comes to like treating themselves certain ways. They start to talk to themselves nicer. Like there's just like a lot of cool things that it's not just about whatever you're focusing on. There's so many other changes that are happening.
I think a lot of the healing process is like building self-trust. Mm-hmm. And that is, I think, trickles out into all of those other aspects. And like, for example, if we set a goal, or if we like, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to get up tomorrow, I want to make like I have this breakfast I want to make, I'm so excited for it. If we follow through on that, we're keeping that promise that we had previously decided, and that is building self-trust. And then that can be a snowball effect. But if we're constantly or consistently rather breaking these little promises and like making these little excuses here and there, which seem like not a big deal, we're creating this narrative like, oh, well, I set goals, or I tell myself I'm going to do something, but if I don't do it, it's not a big deal. So we're losing a little bit of self-trust every time. So as we're kind of building on that and creating this new routine and lifestyle and life experience, it shifts in all aspects of life.
Yes, it's so true. And you don't realize that those things, I call them profit and loss decisions, but those things compound over time. So it's like they seem minuscule in the moment, but depending on which way you spiral, they compound. So whether you're constantly breaking the promise to yourself, that compounds. And if you are keeping those promises, like those compound as well. And it is pretty cool to see what can unfold in that world. So, okay. If somebody's feeling unsure where to start, overwhelmed, I know that you say like everybody has like a protocol that's going to be different depending on their testing and different things, but are there like, like a couple, 2 or 3 practical, no fluff steps that you can start taking today that really would kind of help most people? Let's just say most people.
Absolutely. And not everyone wants testing. Not everybody even quote needs it. Like, can it be helpful? Sure. But like, there's also so much that you can do without it. And so I would say, number 1, clean up nutrition, fuel your body, see where we can balance blood sugar. And that is really through like whole foods, nourishing foods, thinking of food as that nourishment and information for our bodies, and like kind of stepping away from perhaps like the more, what calories am I putting in? Think about like, what ingredients am I consuming and how is this supporting my gut health and my hormone health and all of that. I talk about that a lot on my social media. So if that's like an area of interest, I just posted a real while ago about this, but getting like a simple but enjoyable like nutrition structure kind of going on, not that it has to be a hard rule, but that you can fall back on when you're busy. That's one of the things with high performing women is like, well, I don't have time to eat, or I don't have time to cook a meal, or I don't have time for whatever it might be. So I just grab a quick snack, and that sends us on a blood sugar roller coaster oftentimes, which affects all of our hormones. And so, again, thinking about the bigger picture, how can we support these processes?
I literally just posted on this today, Layne, because what I notice is that when people are when more stress is going on in their life, they start to cut out or say they don't have time for the things that would actually give them the resiliency and more capacity to handle the stress. One of those things being our nutrition, 100%. I'm like, I always think about that. I'm like, if you don't give your car fuel and then you still expect it to run, and the crazy ass part about our body is it will continue to run on like no gas, and we wonder why we feel like shit, and it's like, I think there's a huge thing where we have to shift our relationship with time, because it actually makes us more effective. It makes us like so much better at everything we're doing when we take the time to nourish. And sometimes we have to get creative. We have to maybe ask people for help, maybe get some sort of food service that's going to help us to get those things in. But I love all of you, but like, we have got to cut that shit out. Like this whole, like, I'm too busy to do this. We've really got to shift our relationship with time if we believe that.
Mm-hmm. The saying, like, we don't have time, we make time. Like, what's important to us, and what's important for most women, like when you're thinking of it on surface level, is like, I want to feel good so I can like enjoy things and perform and like do my job and blah, 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 like care for my family. But what's going to allow you to do that? If that's what's really important to you, how can you have the functioning that supports all of that? And that is through taking care of your own physical body, which translates to mental. So, I mean, you've said it perfectly. And that is like, when people say like, how can I support my nervous system? Like, first of all, just make sure you're eating, like eat.
Yes. Like, just please, dear God, do not put your body into a state of fight or flight. And people really don't like, this is something that I like to talk to people about when I'm talking to them about, like, our physical health is a foundational piece of being able to hold more stress and build our resiliency towards stress. When we're eating and we have those normal blood sugars and all of that, your body doesn't have to fight. Like, and then you open up to more creativity, and you're more effective, and you're more productive, and everything gets easier when we allow our physical vessel to not feel like it's being chased by a tiger all the time because we're not feeding it, and it's like, what's happening? Like, what's wrong? So I just, again, thank you for just bringing that up. We've got like, and it is a mindset thing. Like, it really is like, we've got to shift to being like, I can't not do this. How much, actually, because this is a huge thing that I'm seeing, how much does planning have to do with success?
Well, there's that other saying, like, if you plan to fail, then or what is it? I just messed it up. If you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail.
Yes.
So, I mean, set yourself up for success. Like, have you ever like meal prepped on a Sunday and be like, oh, it's Tuesday, and you're like, wow, thank you, prior self, for taking that hour or whatever amount of time to thoughtfully craft some meals that I can eat easily today. And even because that's when we're busiest, the things like fall on the back burner. So how can we maximize like little pockets of time, such as on a Sunday? Obviously doesn't have to be, but setting yourself up for success in that way. And this has so much to do with like, what are your actual goals here?
Yeah, it's true. And I have fallen onto both spectrums, and it's crazy because I am somebody who I spent years in nursing. I spent years as a nutrition and holistic health coach. I spent years, you guys, like, I know this stuff. Okay. Like, I know it. And if I don't put the time aside and I'm not paying attention to it, it 100% goes to the wayside. So like, you have to carve out that time. None of us are immune to it, even if we know it to be true. And a question I always try to ask myself is like, what would tomorrow me thank today me for? Mm-hmm. Like, what could I do today that would allow tomorrow me to be like, oh my gosh, like just what you're saying, that thank you. Thank you.
And I feel like when we think of food or nutrition and meal planning or meal prepping, it feels like it's going to take so much time, and it can. Okay, like we can go all out, but also like rely on certain things that are going to save you time. Like smoothies are a great example. Takes 5 minutes. Can be very well balanced, very fulfilling. Like obviously it would be nice if we had like a whole protein source, but you know what? We're not being nitpicky sometimes.
Right.
We're just thankful we're eating. And there's tons of, cleaner, less processed packaged items that are nice to have on hand for like the grab and go type situations if we find ourselves in them, or to have in the bag if we're in the car, so that we're not like getting hangry, because that is one of the worst feelings, one of the worst ways to like sabotage your hormones and your gut. So try to avoid that extended period without food, and people like roll their eyes sometimes, but like you're gonna feel so much better if you just like thoughtfully plan out how you're going to eat throughout the day.
Yes. And we always try to have veggies that are cooked. We try to have like rice or something along those lines that are like potatoes that are already cooked. Like we'll do potato. A lot of times what Andrew and I will do is we'll do at least one grill night a week. And then we just grill up like a bunch of protein and like some potato packets and some different things. And then we have food for like a few days, which is wonderful. And you guys are going to cook dinner anyways, so that's always my hack too, is on Sundays, I just cook something that actually is going to last multiple days. And then we do like our grill night. And now we've got something again it actually isn't taking more time. It might take like 5 extra minutes, but you just saved yourself, so much time and energy throughout your week by not having to think. And I think that that's the part that planning, if you could take 10 minutes to just plan out what your week is going to look like, what are you going to eat? You guys, the amount of mental energy you will not have to spend, and that you're doing amazing things for your body, is fascinating.
Yeah. And also shout out to like frozen vegetables, and like think like, how can we make this as easy for ourselves as possible?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so true. Anything else? So besides like nutrition and just kind of making that a focus, is there anything else that we can do?
So there's 3 main root causes when we think about dysfunction in the body. And so I think it's nice if we can kind of touch on all 3. So nutrition, number 1, nervous system dysregulations, number 2, and then toxins are number 3. So if there's any type of hormone imbalance or gut health issue, mood, energy fluctuation, usually a combination of these 3 things are at play to some extent. And of course, it's going to be a little bit different variety for every person. But in addition to the nutrition part, like how can we work on nervous system regulation, food playing a role in that, but there are plenty of other tools and strategies that I'm sure you talk about all the time with like building this stress resilience. And a lot of that can fall into how do we start our day? So when in doubt, like how do we spend that first hour of our morning? That can go a really long way in how the rest of our day pans out, even if things don't go as planned or things are not ideal. You at least set yourself up for success and nourished your body and mind for at least a small pocket of time. We can obviously go into like different nervous system support strategies if you'd like, but the third one being how can we help our body detox more naturally, because toxin overload is an issue. So number one, how can we minimize our input of toxins? We cannot control it all, so release that right now. But what can we start?
You will drive yourself bonkers and end up stressing yourself out more and ruining your health more if you start going down the crazy train when it comes to toxins.
Right. So take a little bite at a time and just be like, okay, I'm running out of this, product this month. What can I swap it with? Little swaps like that will go a long way. But the other important aspect of this is making sure our body's built-in detox systems can function. Hydration. Make sure we're pooping every day. This is like a sensitive topic for a lot of women, but like seriously, if we're not pooping every day, we're not taking out our body's trash. So
like think about what's sitting. I always think about that. Like if you're not pooping every day, it's sitting. So remember, your colon is also not a bomb shelter. So whatever's sitting in there is like just seeping back into our bodies, and that's gross. So let's poop.
And these things that we're talking about could actually help with that, but there are, other dynamics. So if you're struggling with this, like we can help, but, sweating, like, can you break a sweat a couple times a week? Are we moving our bodies? It's honestly not even the fancy things that make the biggest impact in our health. It's a solid foundation. And if we don't have a solid foundation, all of those fancy supplements are hardly going to do, they're going to be like a drop of water in the bucket. Like they're not going to be the pivotal change that really changed everything for you. It's going to be, what foundation are we building? And then where can we pull in some more fun, cool, biohacking type stuff?
Yes, I love when we go to biohacking first. Oh Lord. I'm like, okay. Well, if you don't know how to put a meal together, then we need to just like take some steps back here. And so I love that. There's something in Ayurveda that talks, a saying that they have that says how it starts is how it ends. And I love that when you said to like how important it is, even if you only take 5 minutes, you guys, to set your intention and like set your day up. If you start it calm, like the likelihood is it's going to end calm, right? And the same thing, and it's also like how it ends is how it starts. I like to think about, because at the end of the day, again, are you ending it calm? Because then their likelihood is it is a cycle, and staying in that. So I think it's important to realize that if you wake up and you are instantly checking your email, or you're right on social media, or you're doing like, you are throwing your nervous system into a whack job, chaotic state. And then we walk around being like, why is everything so chaotic?
Yeah. I caught myself falling into that routine not that long ago. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I know better than this. And I mean, I can tell you the reasons why this happened, but I'll spare you. But basically, I was like sleeping with my phone near me because I wanted to listen to meditations. And then what was I doing first thing in the morning? Like, let me check my R ring data. Oh, a message just came through. Well, I'm suddenly on Instagram. Don't know how I got here. I'm still in bed. And I'm like, this is not serving me. Okay. No more. We're going to boundaries with ourselves and reset.
I think you're bringing up a good point, Layne, because we all do it. It's not about, you guys, like, none of this is about being perfect. It's about knowing, but like, this is what's powerful is, and I was joking with a client yesterday. I said, every single one of us knows the formula for feeling good. We do. We know what our formula is, because there's times that we feel great and then we just throw it I don't know where we throw it, but like stuff happens and then we start to fall into these patterns. But how quickly can you recognize it and then be like, oh shit. Okay. But I know exactly what to do. Like you knew exactly what to do to get yourself back into a place where you're like, all right, yes, this has happened. So it's not about it never happening.
Right.
It's going to happen. Just how quickly can we get out of it and be like, all right, I know this isn't serving me, so I'm going to make a change here.
Yeah, it's the awareness. And
yes,
is this helping me feel the way I want to feel? If not, okay, are we willing to shift it? Heck yeah, because I would rather, I felt so good 3 months ago and I wasn't doing this. This is one simple thing. But just remember, like one of the things I said earlier on is like, this is a journey. There are ebbs and flows, and I will always claim to still be on my healing journey, even though I am night and day different from just a few years ago. And I'm proud of that. That doesn't mean I'm just like magically healed and magically like in a perfect world, you know?
Yeah. I think if you change your mindset to realize that it is our, like, we've been placed here to grow and evolve, that it's never going to end. And so it's like, and so many of the things that we are growing and evolving through are kind of like this spiral. It's not this linear straight line. A lot of times we come back to quote unquote the same thing, but it's not the same thing, you guys. Like it's a deeper level. When Layne talked about the onion, it's a deeper level of that thing. And you're actually doing a whole nother level of healing. It doesn't take away the progress that you've already made. You're actually just ready for even more progress and even more growth and even more. And it's never going to end. So just like, can we accept that? Acceptance is a big deal.
It is. It's like so well said. Just remember, anytime we're feeling like in a funk, I did all this work. Now I'm feeling like I'm backtracking. Remember the onion. Be like, okay, not in a bad way. We're like a nice smelling onion.
We're a beautiful onion. We're a magnificent onion.
And it is a journey. We are all evolving. We're all learning. None of us have like lived this life before. Like we are always like, okay, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We're flowing with it. And that is going to inevitably have some challenges. But the more and more we build our resilience in our toolbox, we can navigate them better and better.
Yes. And our support system. Like this is something, I used to have to be the hero of my own life. Like that's a flaw of mine, is that like nobody else could fix it for me. Like I had to fix it, which just made things significantly harder than they needed to be. But like the more and more that I activate my own support system and I let people, like I surround myself with people that can answer my questions and remind me what I'm capable of when I'm feeling like crap about myself, or remind me that like, yes, it's normal to have these types of things. It's okay that it's a struggle right now. Tomorrow's probably, let's see what tomorrow feels like, right? Like just like support is such a huge piece of the puzzle. And I feel as if we're coming back to wanting more and more of it. But I do feel as if, a lot of times us high achieving women tend to be these very like hyper independent women, where we struggle to ask for help. We struggle to recognize the fact that like, you know what, maybe you can do it alone, but you don't have to. And let me tell you, it's a hell of a lot more fun if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So good. Okay. I have 3 rapid fire questions and then like a couple more and we'll finish this out. So, okay, rapid fire question. What is your favorite gut-friendly food? What are you into right now?
I have to pick just one?
I know. Okay, you can pick a couple if you want. I'll break the rules immediately.
Arugula.
Okay.
Incorporate it into meals, a little arugula salad before a meal, pop a handful in your mouth. I'll do that. It's bitter. It's peppery, I know.
So bitter. Yeah.
And then anything fermented, sauerkraut, mix it into your eggs in the morning. So good. And bone broth.
All right. I love it. What about one wellness ritual that you never skip?
Hydration in the morning and breakfast.
All right. Yeah, I know. I had to like get into the habit of I have to drink a glass of water before I have like my decaf latte. Like I have to like have something. I have to have some water in my system. Book or podcast that changed your approach to health?
Oh, that's a good one. I feel like I've read so many books and I'm always listening to podcasts. Oh my gosh, I'm stumped on this one because I'm trying to think back to like years ago, like what really like changed, like, or if there was a certain one. Dr. Mark Hyman's podcast is really good.
Okay.
That was one of the
Awesome.
earlier ones. I haven't listened to it in quite a while, so I can't speak to how it is now, but just like the perspective shift, what that was incorporated when I was like learning a lot more.
Awesome. Okay. What's one message that you'd love every high performing women or men, because men also, this is important to hear when it comes to like your stress, your gut health, taking back your vitality in life? Like, what do you need them to know?
We need to pivot from the Band-Aid approach. And I think there's like a wave of our generation that is shifting already. And we're seeing like, okay, I don't want medication unless I absolutely need it. Like, what else can I do? I don't want to just go to the doctor when I have a complaint. Like, I want to feel healthy. And that's like such a beautiful thing to be a part of, because we're like, yes, this is like what life is meant to feel like, is this empowerment, and also like literally to feel so good. Not that every day has to be perfect, but like we established a new baseline of feeling good. And so I think just really tuning into like, what does my body need right now? So often when we think of our needs, we think of like that as like something selfish. And so like, no, we're a lot of us are like naturally like givers, especially like in career or with family. We just want to give. And then when we think about like, okay, what do I need today? It feels selfish. So if we can reframe that, be like, okay, what does my body need though? I find that that's like a really powerful mindset shift for women who struggle with feeling selfish by prioritizing their health. It's like, okay, how can I actually help my body though? And then that, if we can pour just a little bit into the physical, a little bit into the mental, there's such a ripple effect that comes from that.
Awesome. That's amazing. All right. So, final question before we tell people more like where they can learn about you and kind of like connect with you. What is one lesson that you are currently in the middle of learning?
Grace with myself and my healing and just life in general. So I'm 20 weeks pregnant. And so I have, shifted a lot with my routines because energy is not the same and capacity is not the same. And so I think it's just reiterated to myself like the importance of like some core foundations. And sometimes we have to reprioritize and clear the clutter. And so I'm kind of working through integrating that into like daily life and being okay that my energy is not the same as it was several months ago, and adapting to it. So being adaptable, I guess, is the lesson I'm in right now.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, tell us where people can find you, where they can learn more about you, and about this gut rescue roadmap that you have available for people.
So I am very active on Instagram. I dabble with TikTok on occasion. I go through spells, but my handle is just my name with an underscore in between. So we'll link it in there. I know, hard to spell. So it's Layne_VanLieshout. And so you'll find me there. And then the gut rescue roadmap is honestly like one of my prides and joys, because it is like a little handbook for people who are on the healing path and they either don't know where to start or they feel like some pieces are missing. It talks you through like, what are the root causes of these different dysfunctions, but also what are some steps that we can take to start correcting them from like a holistic functional approach.
Amazing. So definitely we will link up all of that in the show notes. Go grab your copy. I know that I am going to grab a copy. I love to support, but also I feel like there's always something that I can learn and kind of put into my own life as well. So definitely check Layne out. Thank you just so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your zone of genius with us. We just appreciate, I know that there's so much. I'm gonna have to go back and listen because I feel like there's so much gold in here for people. So I'm excited for them to hear it.
Well, I've loved it. And so thank you for having me.